I'm Michael Reese.
And I'm Woods Davis.
And this is the Digital President Podcast.
We've cracked the code for generating customers online for every business model.
In fact, we wrote the book on it.
We've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses in as little as 90 days. And the one truth that we discovered is
the best business model is doing what you love and living your life by strategy.
You truly can follow your passion and create the life of your dreams,
as long as you have the right strategy.
If you're a real estate agent and you'd like to learn how you can partner with us to help you implement our strategies and systems in your business so you can make a lot more money and have a lot more time freedom, all without ever paying us a penny or giving up a percentage of your commission, go to partnershipdetails.com and schedule a call with us today. While it's fresh in your mind, go to partnershipdetails.com. Now on to the podcast.
All right, on today's episode, I had to wear the original Digital President shirt. It all started with Living the Life by Strategy. You got your host, me, and the co-host, Woods Davis, co-author. We wrote this book together. The very first chapter, The Best Life to Live, is a Life by Strategy. What's up, Woods Davis?
What's up, brother? This was the foundation for everything.
Yeah, so I'm excited and I want to jump right in and hit the ground running with this. And it was give you a little bit of the backstory. When we started writing the Digital President, it started with the whole process started with us literally making a list of the things we hated in our life. And we're going to walk you through kind of, I don't know if you've ever been in your, just kind of going through your reported world and doing things over and over and over. And we believe in a concept called a creative world where you can create anything you want. And if you could create everything that you wanted, one of the things you can do is use what is called the adverse. The adverse is looking at the opposite, right? What are all the things you don't like? And so Woods and I sat down and went through the process. And I think, there's a lot of really core tenets of the way we still live and operate today, from talking about what our freedom number is. We're going to give you a little context to what that is, really discovering, the things that mean a lot to us, our life team. A life by strategy is at the core not the same as a design. And what I want to say about, you might have heard the famous quote. I think we even gave credit to the Jim Rohn. I'll tell you what the quote is. A life by strategy. So the quote from Jim Rohn is, a life best lived is a life by design, not by accident, not by just walking through the day, careening from wall to wall and managing to survive. That's okay, but if you could start giving your life dimensions and a design and color and objectives and purpose, the results can be staggering. And so for us, and this is just truth, for us, I've been involved in businesses that had no strategy. I've been involved with products that had a terrible strategy. In fact, I've been in situations where life was at its worst. I was reactive, totally reactive, and I was living not a life by design, because you can design your life and it can still not accomplish the goal. So the word strategy means the difference between good and bad strategy is solving the wrong problem. Have you designed your life in a way where you've actually taken the time to say, where's the biggest challenges I have? Whether that's physical fitness, whether that's relationships and romance, whether that's, career and financial, right? What have you really taken the time to look at all those different areas of your life? And so we're going to share with you a little bit about why that was the first chapter. And I'm here to tell you, this is going to be the most powerful episode. You're going to have to hang in there for a little bit, because you're going to have to understand really why this is such an important step. So Woods, let's walk them through, some of the big things that changed for us, life before strategy, living the life by strategy versus after.
Here's what I know. I know what it feels like when you don't have a strategy. When you have zero strategy, you feel like life is just happening to you. You feel like things are out of your control. You're not passionate about what you're doing because you don't have a real purpose. You don't have a real plan. When you don't have a clear goal and a clear plan, it's really hard to do hard things. And so, I just remember when, we kind of found ourselves at that point to where, you could even be successful. You could have some measures of success by, everybody else's standards, man. Maybe you're making good money. Maybe you've got all the things that you want. You got the house, you got the car, you got the lifestyle, but you're absolutely freaking miserable and you really don't even see any end in sight. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. At the end of the day, you're just waking up doing the same things over and over, or you're doing things that are forced because of the situation that you're in. You feel like you have to do these things in order to just maintain what you've got. But what you've got isn't really what you want. And man, I just remember feeling like that, man. I remember when we were in your office and literally just breaking down. And that's when we had the big epiphany, when we got out the big white sheets of paper and got to town and started listing out all the things that we hate, all the things that we love, and started to put some design around this.
Yeah, and so for you, if as a listener, I think one of the main things, and this is like currently, you have to set big goals, and you have to really get to more of the why, not the what, right? Why things are important. Why is that important to you? For me personally, one of the worst, and I'm stealing this from somebody, so I'm going to give them credit, but I can only just vouch that this statement is true. But a guy by the name of Jesse Itzler, very, very amazing person, very successful. He said, one of the most powerful talks I've ever seen was him speaking in 2017. And he said, the worst thing that ever happened to him was when he achieved a big goal. And then after achieving that big goal, he didn't set a new goal. And so this morning, I got up and let me give you some context. When you do life by strategy, a good exercise is doing your perfect day, right? So what does your perfect day look like? The problem is you can start living your perfect day. You can literally get there financially to some degree relatively quickly. I mean, in contrast to what people had the opportunity when we didn't have the internet. I mean, people can literally become overnight successes if they do the right thing versus do the wrong thing. For us, we were always in sales and marketing, which was always aimed at helping real estate agents specifically. But things that didn't feel successful were promoting. One of the things that we talked about were certain promotions that we had done. And we came out with this, a concept called the carnival marketer. And what is a carnival marketer?
So a carnival marketer, they're like the carnival. They come into town, set up, do the big show, and then they're out, and then they're moving on to the next thing. The carnival marketer is really just it's all show without a lot of flash and hype, but with no sustained long-term strategy.
Right. And one of the things with the carnival marketer is you end up with the big bear if you get the ring on the hoop, like the connection to the value in which they offer you is so long. It's a show. It's like, hey, listen, you can get this, you can get that. And I'm going to tell you, I've participated at the carnival. And I can tell you that's the most unfulfilling thing. The fulfilling thing is when you, for instance, for the business we're in, we help real estate agents. And today, I wish I could, I probably could, but I'm not going to. I could show you my calendar. But I've been on the phone back to back, speaking with real estate agents about their business in between the calls. Been working with a really good friend of mine that I've known for 9 years. So I'm at my home working with two of my partners in Puerto Rico who both visited from Miami and from Colorado. We're talking marketing. Literally every single day from morning to night, we're talking about marketing, funnels, how to make agents' lives better. And that's by design. And the truth is that I'm not working back from a solution of as far as, I have to sell something, right? That's not even on the rate. That's not even in the conversation. The root of the conversation, which is where I get fulfillment, is how is this going to help the other person? How fast is it going to help the other person? And so I think when you're living a life by strategy, the life by strategy is really defining and identifying what gives you the most fulfillment. So for me, it was mastermind. And the reason why it was mastermind is we would do these masterminds all over the country and I'd get to spend so much time with the individual, right? Like I could have lunch with them, dinner with them. My solution was not forced into a 30-minute conversation. My solution was over 3 days where we could have a collision, have a conversation. Maybe they're enjoying a glass of wine. They're telling me a little bit about their problem. The next day we're having breakfast. And over time, we're really masterminding together. And to me, that was the most fulfilling. So when we did that, the problem with that is that was usually like in Aspen. It wasn't cheap, right? And so we came up with this concept of really, identifying your purpose and your sweet spot. And it was really, it was like, hey, what if you could really identify what you were the best in the world at? If you could work towards doing more of that and do it in a way where if you were going to get paid in arrear, if you were going to get paid after the result, this is what it says in the book. If I paid you after the promise was delivered. So if you're going to sell me something, I believe when I give you my money, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm hiring you, your software, I'm hiring you to get a result. You don't want a drill, you want a hole, right? You get the drill so you can get the hole. You don't really want a drill. You want the outcome that the drill is going to provide. And so the question is, if you only got paid when the client got the outcome, then what service would you have to provide knowing dang well that you had to deliver the promise? And then the question is what would the problem have to be in order for you to work every single Sunday and never get paid $1, 52 Sundays a year, because you were so passionate about what you were working on? And so for me, obviously, for you, it's the same. That's where we have congruency. It was marketing, sales, teaching people how to build a personal brand that attracts people to them, knowing what they stand for and what they stand against, building a community that is all understanding, and more importantly, doing it away with a compensation model that allows you to buy your time back. Because the worst thing you can ever do is live your life by transaction. If you are living your life in a way where on the first you are back at zero, then all I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying there's a better strategy. And I can show you a ton of people who have found better strategies for living their life. So you do that. But again, it's not just in work. It's in every area. The core of a strategy is you are responsible. You know what you're responsible for in business? Your number one responsibility is being able to clearly articulate where you're trying to go and what's the number one thing that you have to do in order to get there the quickest and easiest way possible, meaning prioritize efficiency and being effective. You can't just have something pop up on your plate and make that the goal with no alignment to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I think in the beginning, I don't know how to say this except, if I make a statement and you don't agree with it, don't think that I'm making this statement in order to repel you. I'm just not communicating it well, because I know that this could trigger some people listening to this episode. If the root of it is to make money so you can pay your bills, then it's probably not the best strategy.
It's not sustainable. If you're working, that's the definition of living life by transactions, man, is just living for the money. The reality is like the money, and we all know this, and it might sound, almost like a cliche, but the reality is money is just this made up thing to represent the creation of value that you bring to the marketplace.
Value. And how do you know if you create value to the marketplace?
You know that you create value based on the result that you can provide and what people are willing to pay for that result. But here's the thing, man. What's crazy is people, going back to the reported world versus created world, people get locked into this belief system of they're stuck with only one way to create value. They look at these traditional paths, like let's take a real estate agent, for example. Real estate agents are doing their business, they're marketing, they're generating clients, they're negotiating, they're, marketing properties, they're closing deals. All of these functions are happening. They have one monetization strategy to produce a transaction and get paid a commission. Well, what would happen if maybe in the course of the normal business, they decided that, hey, I'm actually passionate about sharing what I do in order to acquire new clients, or maybe I have a specific negotiation strategy that helps my clients sell their homes for more money. What if I'm passionate about sharing that with other people? Instead of just doing that function, they actually maybe pick up a phone and document it and create a piece of content while they do that, and then share that out in the world. Well, now they start adding value to more other real estate agents. They start adding value to more people. They multiply the value that they're creating in the marketplace. But those types of things don't happen unless you get strategic and make a plan and say, man, I actually want more from my life than just living like from transaction to transaction, or just living in this reported world that everybody else says is the way. And I know, like, for us, man, we've literally created, and it's almost been just a God thing, because it's like the universe starts to align in your favor once you start to say, man, this is my clear intention of the life that I want. I don't want to spend all my day in meetings about meetings, and I don't want to doing carnival marketing, and I don't want to, not be able to deliver the full amount of value to a client that I know that I can. Once you really start to like write those things down, get clear on those things, you start aligning your life around that. and finding a clear path and a vehicle to make it happen. I know for us, man, it's been an amazing journey, and it keeps unfolding, and the vision for the life just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But if we'd never started, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. A strategy, with what you're saying, and you used an example of an agent creating a piece of content. And if I was a listener and I was listening to that statement, I would say, I don't understand. That doesn't make any money. How's that going to benefit me? Right? Because it's what's in it for me. Here's the thing. Let's take a step back to what you said. The score is money. Out of all licensed real estate agents who've ever practiced real estate as a career, meaning they did it and paid their bills, let's say for more than 5 years. That's how they made their primary living. Who do you think alive is the most wealthy, in your opinion? Give me top three. Top three living licensed realtors. They had to be licensed at least since 2005, since the internet and smartphones. So who do you believe that's a practicing real estate agent who has the most money?
Do they have to still currently be practicing?
Nope. No, they just had to practice. I'm just going back to demonstrate what you meant.
Glenn Sanford, number one, billionaire.
Number two?
Gary Keller.
Number three?
Liniger.
Okay. So think about this. If you have Glenn Sanford, all of those guys sold real estate.
Right.
The only argument is they have a great life now. And the question is how did they have this great life? And why can't you? Well, they had a great life because they realized that there was more value to be created by solving the problem in their market that other people were having. Now, there were people in their markets that had to sell a house, and that was their problem. But it's completely different than when, and I'm talking about a homeowner has to sell their house, but it's completely different than a guy or a gal who leaves their job, who makes an investment and lays it all out, and they just need to create a career. These individuals realized that, hey, I learned how to make a career in real estate. And there's a lot of people that would love to do that. In fact, I did it so well, I built a brokerage that netted me, insert whatever Gary Keller's first brokerage that he did in Austin that was profitable. Man, there's probably a lot of other people who started brokerages that didn't succeed. What if I helped them? What if I made it step by step for them and created a centralized hub and helped train? Or Dave Liniger. Dave Liniger was like, well, there's a lot of agents out there that want to produce, but what happens if I created a situation where they could just pay a flat fee for a desk and keep the rest of their money so they could run their ads in the newspaper or, whatever they did before the internet when Remax was big. And Glenn did the same thing. Glenn Sanford founded EXP out of frustration of trying to expand into other markets and realizing the expenses that were keeping him under. Those individuals recognized the other problems. And in our book, we call that the sweet spot. And the sweet spot's identified by, knowing what you're good at. If you could go back and whisper in your own ear and give yourself advice, what advice would you give yourself that's made the biggest impact on your transactional life? If in your transactional life, you went from struggling to be successful, don't you believe there's a lot of other people out there that are struggling that you could help be successful? You can help people pass their real estate exam the first time. You can help people make 6 figures in real estate. Regardless, anybody, whether it's a homeowner who doesn't know, maybe it's a question about a home inspection. Want to get in a home warranty? Should I cover my pool? Maybe it's their questions, or maybe it's a new person that's sitting at the computer thinking about buying their license, but they're unclear of where to start. The point is that in today's world, you can use a smartphone and video a piece of content based upon anybody's problem. And as real estate professionals specifically, there's going to be 300,000 people plus get licensed in 2022. And just like me, I fixed a really complex ice maker, and I fixed it. You know how I fixed it?
YouTube.
Right here. This is just coincidence that this is here, by the way. You see this right here? You know what this is?
What is it?
You know what that is? You know what that is?
It's complicated.
Yeah. That's a piece to a Honda pressure washer. Because my washer wasn't working. I went to YouTube. I put in my serial number. I was gonna throw it away. It would have, if I would have known where their damn dump was in Puerto Rico, it would have been in the dump. And it looks new. And I need a power washer. I'd have just went and bought a new one. I said, you know what? My brother-in-law's here. He's pretty handy. So he cleans the carburetor. He does everything. This guy rebuilds engines from scratch. And he does everything, got no pressure. I was like, He works on it for 3 days, right? Changes the oil, gas, does the whole thing. So I go to YouTube and it said, well, unscrew this and push that. I literally did not set this up, did I? I unscrewed it. If I go show you the old one, I wish I would have had it. Dude, all of the rings were done. It said if it's frozen, that's the pressure. That's where the pressure is created when that pin goes back and forth. It said just unscrew these two things. Go buy this for $11. Water pressure. Like, the point is that people go to YouTube to solve problems in their life. If in your life, if you're living right now and you solved any problem, if you're passionate about jiu-jitsu, well, guess what? I plan on doing jiu-jitsu next year. But guess what? Right now I got to swim. So to swim, guess what I did? I had to go buy a front snorkel. I had to go buy this front snorkel. You know how? I found it on YouTube. This is called a front snorkel. This is how you swim. If I want to do jiu-jitsu, I don't know if you wear a gi, if you don't wear a gi, how many days a week you should train. But if you train for the first year and you learn things, you can simply go on the internet, talk about the things that you're most passionate about, and other people who do not know where to start. Now you're never working a day in your life because you're doing, I was at some place. I do not remember where it was. I wish I would have. And I remember thinking, whose ever job this is, they are extremely lucky, because this just seems like so much fun. This just seems so fulfilling. Could you imagine every single day? Like, the worst problem here, which I just can't remember what it was. I just remember that I don't have those thoughts a lot, right? I don't have those feelings a lot of like, man, this will be a real, but this was one of them. It was magical. And I was like, dude, whoever's got this job, they got the best job ever.
How about the jet ski guys that pulls you out into the waves to do drop-ins on the surfing?
Man, they do. If that's yeah, but you know what? The guy who started that store, that was a pilot for TWA and flew back and forth from Texas and ended up moving to the Caribbean and starting a windsurf shop where he lives in a Ritz-Carlton property and works with some of the coolest people and spends all of his time on the beach. That guy, who I see every day with his kids running around with the one wheel and playing in the sand, that guy, he has a lot of value, because anywhere there's a beach, he can teach anybody how to make 6 figures a year on any island in the world, right?
Yeah.
And how to pick the island, why you pick which island. Shoot, they probably, he has his own brand, I think it's called Goodwind. He has his own brand, his own t-shirt. I mean, he could teach a lot but my point is living your life by strategy. All I'm saying, when you gave the example with the person, is that I know for a fact the hardest thing you ever do is making a short-term decision in exchange for a long-term circumstance. What happens is that when you set goals that are reactionary, they put you on due course. And all of this is the word, write this word down, the secondary impact effects of that decision. When you have a life by strategy, you have a thing called decision filters. You can finally say no to things. You got to say no to opportunities. I would not be living my life by strategy, living free. And what I mean by free, my freedom number, meaning the amount of money that I have to make in order to pay my bills, I probably make that in 3 days, if not less. Actually, I mean, we'll just say 4 days, 5 days, under a week. But I do that through passive revenue by design. By design. When we wrote on the board, I probably had $386 in passive income when I set the goal and said, I don't care. And this is how I operated. I had kids, and I was this naive, bro. I was this naive. I thought of my kids playing college football, and I wanted to be able to go to their college and go to football and go on a my goals were low. My goals were low. Now how I'm thinking. But if you're not embarrassed on how you thought 12 months ago, then you're not growing fast enough. The biggest problem with living your life by strategy is not taking the time to be willing to kick over the what?
Kick over the sandcastle.
What's kick over the sandcastle mean?
Dude, kick over the sandcastle is being willing to look at your current circumstances,
burn it all down,
and know that it's not going to get you to your goals, and being willing to just completely wipe it off the table and rebuild from the ground up.
Not being scared. If you're here's the reason, I'm telling you right now, you're going to suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And the pain of discipline is being able to take the time and being able to reverse engineer where you're actually trying to go. Here's the problem, though. It's all about belief. People's beliefs are diminishing over time and they don't know it's possible. But I will tell you this, if you could order it off a menu, you wouldn't order transactional revenue. You say, okay, can you tell me about the transactional revenue or the residual revenue? Oh, well, the residual revenue, we just send that to you every single month. You don't do anything. The transactional revenue, you're going to work your entire life every single month. And if you don't do nothing, then you got to go to work on Saturday, Sunday, every single day, stay up late trying to sell something. And here's the thing. So if you want to live a life by strategy, the first thing you have to do is think it's possible. And so you have to adopt a mentality that maybe what you're currently doing is wrong.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable with yourself. You have to question everything. You know how many times you can ask my buddies that, and there's real stories out there where we're sitting in a room and I'm like, that don't lead to a life. I didn't say life by strategy back then. I said that doesn't give me any time at the lake.
Right.
Right. We were going to grow these franchises around Dallas. Me, John, and Jay. We flew a dude in, HOA. He flew in. We picked him up. We ate at PF Chang's. We laid out this masterful plan, drove him back to the airport. It's 7:00 at night. You can ask Jay or John. We're sitting down in this all-day meeting. We're going to go franchise.
Oh, you're going to build prisons.
and I'm looking at this board. You ask Jay or John Kitchens. I'm looking at this board, and I'm thinking about the life I really want, that I love being on the boat. I love being on the lake. I know if I could order it, and I just told him, and John Kitchens, I've heard him say it from stage. He said, Mike looked up there and said, that doesn't get me to the lake. It doesn't take me to where I'm trying to go. I'm going to tell you, and I got a friend who I just hung up the phone with. He was like, hey man, listen, I'm about to fuel up the jet and go to Nashville, but the Rolling Stones is it the Rolling Stones? I think it's the Rolling Stones are playing in Nashville. He said, I can't get a hotel room. You know anyone in Nashville? That gentleman, he's been a good friend of mine since 6th grade, right? I can tell you, his success isn't because he has the best education. His success comes because he can tell the difference. He can tell the difference in income. You don't have to go to Harvard to know. And here's the thing. You might say you know, but do your results show you know? So here's how we did it. Let me give you a little bit of insight on how we went from in prison, making great money, which here's the other thing. When you make great money, it's even a harder prison.
Oh, yeah. It's the worst.
It's a harder prison. Yeah, the walls, that's called max security. Because now if you're bad, you started living off that money. Now you got financial commitments and you bought you increased, you got the nicer house, the nicer car, the nicer things. So that prison wall got a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you working to keep putting bricks on it, man.
Every day.
Because that's all you know. Yeah.
And that's what did you used to say from the Bible to me all the time?
Nehemiah up rebuilding the wall. Bro, we up on the wall. We're doing an important work and cannot come down.
Every single day.
The people kept trying to tempt him to come down off of the wall and stop doing the work that he was doing, but he was rebuilding this city. He was rebuilding. He was fortifying it.
Woods told me that every day for 2 years when we had no passive income, and we went from this easy money that we could just go ring the register tomorrow.
Send an email, make
slam the dunk and just take the money and make money. And we said, we're not doing that anymore. We want to do this. We want to do this. This is the life we want. We want to do it this way. We want to do it that way. And here's what happened. I would say, what you still on the wall? Was like, I'm on the wall. I'm doing good work. People don't see me, but I'm up here on the wall. I'm just up on the wall. And here's where it starts. See, life is like monkey bars. You got to let go of one to move forward. So it starts with making a stop doing list. That means anything that is not producing results in your life right now based upon your goals, then you have to kick it off. And you have to check yourself. You have to check yourself because you will keep yourself in prison. Yeah. You will keep yourself in prison, I promise you. And here's the second thing. You have to spend at least 90 minutes a day. That's called a jam session. There's a jam session. There's a
hell week.
Binge. There's a binge. And then hell week. Binge is like when you go watch Netflix for your whole show and you can't wait to finish the whole season. You go on like Vikings season 1 through 6 in like 8 days, right? A binge is when like my wife just left. She just flew out of town. this would have been a binge. I'm like, wife's gone, family, my kids are here, so it's not. But if they would have went to the lake to her parents' house, I would roll up the sleeves and make progress. 90 minutes is a jam session. What is the thing I'm going to get done today to move to the future? Every single day you're working on the wall. 90 minutes, binge. And then you got to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? And willing to sacrifice, we did this.
Yeah. We were willing to sacrifice some sleep, 4:17 a.m.
We came up with the funnel, wrote the whole thing. I made a pot of chili. Remember that? Our copywriter came over. We had like 4 people in the house. We mapped out everything. We were working left and right to get that funnel up. Once that funnel was up, we ran that funnel for 2-3 years, 2.5 years for sure.
Yeah.
And it was a huge catalyst. But if you can imagine, that sales copy took days to write, days. But if we didn't get that copy written, and it felt like a march. It felt like a march. In the book, Good to Great, it's the 20-mile march. So 90 minutes a day, 90 minutes a day, 90 minutes a day. Like, I'm doing all this because I'm stuck here. I got to do this. But what's the one place I'm trying to go? And what's the one thing I can do 90 minutes today in order to advance that program? And hey, guys, listen, you might need to get up 90 minutes early. And if you can't, maybe you need to start exercising so you have more energy so you can get up 90 minutes early. Maybe you need to eat better so you have more energy. I don't care how you do it. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. You cannot change your life unless you change something you do every day. I want you to read this book, Never Eat Alone. And the reason I say that book is because in that book, the one takeaway is when you go for a goal, you should start with the who.
Yeah.
If there's someone living the life that I want, identify that person. Call them up. Figure out how they did it. Ask questions, and then who did they have to get? It's called your life team, right? In the book, we call it your life team. I'm not even telling mine publicly because I've set my goals so high that I'm embarrassed to share them. Every time I say it, I almost slip and do it because, you get that enthusiasm and you're just talking. And usually I can't pull the rein back, but I don't do it because I genuinely, but I can tell you, I know who I need. I can tell you I found them.
Yeah.
I can tell you I've been with them. I can tell you I've been asking questions. Had a conversation with the guy on the beach who ran for president last week. Forbes named him top 10 cryptocurrency owners in the world. Talked to him for 30 minutes. I went up to him. I didn't know who he was. I was networking at the beach. What brought you to Puerto Rico? I opened up 4 banks. I was at the same beach this past weekend talking to people that are in similar situations, conversations, helping a guy get a ride home, net worth $600 million. Had a call on Friday with my good buddy, Dwayne Legate. Built Commissions Inc., sold it for $250 million. I had a situation in my life. I reached out to him. I hadn't spoken to him in years. I said, hey man, I have this situation. I've known you've already had to go through. Guy lives in Bahamas, has a house in Tampa. You know what we got into talking about?
What?
We were talking about jet airplanes. And he was like, oh, Mike, I got it figured out for you. And my other buddy said, oh, I got private. If you want, I'll tell you how to buy the jet. Guys, listen, the best life to live is a life by strategy. And the strategy means sometimes in life, you just have to know, you don't have to know all of the answers. For instance, if you're trying to go to the moon, you don't have to know where you're going to land if you don't know how to take off. Don't overcomplicate it. Start by first getting a vision. And here's the best thing. If you could wish upon a star, if you could wave a magic wand, if you could have anything you wanted in life, what would it be? Don't let your brain trick you and think that you can't and tell you all the reasons why you can't do this and why that would work. You start with dreaming. And it's hard to dream when you're trying to survive, but we had a dream.
Yep.
And when you have a dream that is so clear in a belief system, all you need is a little experience and a little progress along the way to not have to believe, but then to know this is going to work. And there's nothing, the very first step in a dream, a big dream that you know it's going to work because you're making progress, it's never work anymore. Every day you're happy because you're making progress. Now there's times when you got a dream and you got no progress and you have doubt and your belief is diminishing every single day, but that's why you need to have the team.
Right.
It's not that it's not doable. It's if you don't have what you want, you haven't learned something yet. Setting up the right team, identifying the things that you no longer want to do, getting clear on the things that you're most passionate about, that you would work 52 Sundays for free to help your brother-in-law with because it would never feel like work. That's at the kernel of living your life by strategy.
The final piece, and I'll tell you, when we first set out to create Life by Strategy, we knew that we wanted passive income as an outcome that we want. It was a byproduct that we wanted to be able to create because at the end of the day, it was true time freedom. What we've learned.
I mean, it's the reason why I want 10 chicken nuggets and not 2. Because I want 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what we learned, man.
I'm not gonna beg for one. I'm gonna be like, oh, because we were dreaming. Well, if we can have anything, we'll take 10. You want barbecue or sour cream?
I want it all. I want both.
Or sweet and sour. Can we have both?
I want both.
You know, we want all the nuggets and all the dip. Okay, that's what we want over here. We ain't limited ourselves to a 2-piece with 1 dip.
Man, listen, all revenue is not created equal, and man, especially when you're thinking about your who and you're thinking about your life team, man, don't just look for the people that maybe have things. Because, dude, they might be in prison too. They might be freaking miserable. Their life's falling apart. Their relationships unhealthy, right? What's that say? Your life team. That's right. Focus on the life team who's got the lifestyle that you want. Not just the show, not just the things, not just the money, but the actual life, the time, how they're spending their time. That's what you want to aim for, man. And for me, that requires passive income because I want time freedom.
Yeah, and it's not just work. Maybe it's a guy who has a great relationship with his wife.
Right.
Maybe it's a guy who you envy, like he seems like a really great father, and you've dropped the ball and prioritized things differently. Maybe you're like, man, how's this guy, have all this and he stays in such great shape? He's living his life by strategy. He's developed a routine. He's got knowledge that you don't have. You just have to first think that it's possible. But I'm telling you right now, if you could literally meet the best version of yourself, you go to heaven and you meet the best version of yourself of everything that you could have been, everything that you could have had, every positive impact that you could have made, and you didn't. Because you didn't even think it was possible. It's terrible. Everything, the biggest constraint you have in your own life is never the problem. It's how you're thinking about the problem. And if you can't learn how to think, and if you don't think something's possible, then I promise you, my friend, it's true. It won't be. But I promise you, if you put yourself on the path where sky's the limit and you're willing to do the work, you're going to do the work anyway. You're going to do the work anyway. You're going to be trying to figure out how to pay for stuff, or you're going to figure out what stuff you want to buy. You're going to work anyway. You're going to do something with the time that you're alive, that you're awake. Be strategic about your life. The best life to live
is a life by strategy.